Hello and welcome to another Monday meditation. My name is McKay, and today I will be guiding you into a meditation process called meeting your own inner critic / rule maker. This can be done as a meditation or more of like a journaling process. I will have all of the questions that I ask you here down in the description, so if at any point you want to do journaling afterwards, you totally can, or you could do it both at the same time. Let's get started. Get comfortable, get cozy, make sure that you are somewhere in a place where you're not going to be disturbed. You can fully commit to immersing yourself in this practice. It might be helpful to have like some tissues or something nearby because it can be very emotional. Just make sure that you have everything you might need. Let's start by simply scanning our environment to ensure that we are safe. Scanning the room, looking around. And once you've checked everything out and you're like, yep, looks pretty good, I think we're ready. Maybe, if it feels comfortable for you, you can let your eyes gently close. And we will take 3 big deep breaths here, coming into the body. Inhale. And exhale. Maybe letting out a sigh, exhaling through the mouth. Seeing if you can make each breath expansive. Inhale. And exhale, let something go. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Bring into your mind your inner critic or rule maker. This is the version of you that might speak unkindly to you sometimes, or has a very harsh tone, an inner voice that speaks to you in a way that comes off more judgmental than loving. You may not be able to see this version of yourself visually, and that is okay. If you can, that's awesome. Anything that comes up, whether it's a mental image or just a tone of voice, simply become aware of how this part of yourself presents themselves. And we're going to actually allow ourselves to fully step into this energy. You might need to move your posture as you accept this part as if that was all of who you are. And it can be uncomfortable. You have complete control over how much of this you embrace. Notice how your posture shifts, what this tone of voice sounds like, as if it were you. Breathe into your inner critic, the inner rule maker. Adopt their mannerisms, the dialogue, the inner narratives. And if you need more time, you can pause this video. I'm going to begin asking some questions to this inner critic. And your only job here is to answer honestly as the inner critic. These will be asked in relationship to you, your actual full self? What kind of rules do you believe she should follow? And if the pronoun of he fits better for you in this situation, you can replace she with he. What kind of rules do you believe, as the inner critic, that she should follow? There can be many. Maybe there's one really big rule. Next question is, how should she behave? In what ways do you, as the inner critic, expect her to behave? How should she act? Next question is, what should she never do? What are the kinds of things that I do not allow her to do? And why? Next question is, what happens when she does break the rules? What are the consequences? What are the risks? And another interesting question is, how are you, as the inner critic, actually helping her in some way, or think you are? How do you protect her? How do you prevent her from experiencing things like potential embarrassment, failure, criticism from others, regret? How do you actually benefit her by having someone, a critic, rule maker, present in her mind? Just notice the answers. Be honest. Next question is, do you, as the inner critic, sort of sound like someone else that she may know from growing up? Perhaps a parental figure, or a teacher, or an adult in her life that spoke to her in a similar way. a voice that she might have internalized as her own voice. Who might that be, if anybody? Just bringing awareness to the similarities of how this internal dialogue may have actually been something that was taught, not something that we were innately born with. And the last question that we will be asking this inner critic is, when did this voice first appear? And if there's no clear answer to that, that is okay. Maybe just gently pondering this. When did I first notice myself start speaking to myself with this inner critic voice? And whatever may have come up for you during these questions, let them be as they are. We will take 3 big deep breaths. Once again, inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And on our next breath, we will once again return back to our full perspective. No longer embodying just the inner critic, we are returning back to our full awareness. Inhale. And exhale. Returning back to yourself fully, noticing how you feel. As we look at these rules that the inner critic has placed for us, all of these expectations and rules and criticisms, how does that voice feel to listen to? Was there anything that surprised you about what your inner critic said? Do these rules and criticisms sound any different from your perspective compared to being the inner critic? Do any of these beliefs or roles feel a little bit outdated? Maybe some of them even sounded entirely unrealistic to achieve, therefore almost impossible to succeed in. Perhaps setting yourself up for failure or to feel bad about yourself because it's just nearly impossible to truly have those kinds of expectations of yourself all the time. Just witnessing that truth. Perhaps even some of these rules sound absolutely ridiculous to you in your full perspective compared to when you were the inner critic. What's your perspective on these rules, these judgments? Did any of them feel supportive in a certain way? Maybe even some of them feel important and necessary to keep for a certain reason. And if that was the case for any of those rules, maybe asking yourself, why are they important? Why do I feel like I need these rules from my inner critic? What would happen if this harsh voice wasn't there to correct me or keep me in line or judge me, punish me? This might be a great moment for us to create a little bit of separation between ourselves and the inner critic. Completely optional, but you could actually give your inner critic a name. Totally okay if this doesn't resonate with you, but it can really help for us to have a separate identity. There's me, and then there is the inner critic. It could be Patrick or Bob or Karen, whatever you want. If that doesn't resonate with you at all and you just want to label it as the inner critic, totally all right. And there can sometimes be a sense where this inner critic just feels so harsh, so unkind, so ruthless sometimes. And if you're feeling a lot of overwhelming emotions here and they just feel so all-consuming, it can be really helpful to bring in a supportive figure of some sort. They could be real or imagined. It could be a superhero. It could be a really close friend of yours who can be there to support you and protect you from this inner critic who might be very harsh. And imagine them, if you're experiencing this as a visual thing, seeing your friend as growing bigger and bigger in comparison to the critic, to help you see that you have support that is stronger than the judgment and the criticism. Just an option. And now I would like you to bring into your mind's eye your inner child. It could be visual. It could just be an inner voice somewhere of your childhood self. See what age particularly came up for you when I first asked you to adopt this embodiment of your inner child. And we will breathe into her or him with 3 breaths, coming into the inner child perspective. Inhale. And exhale. Slowly allowing this lighthearted child essence to fully permeate every cell, to come into the consciousness of this version of us that still exists and is alive within us. One last inhale here. And exhale. And now, as the inner child, ask this child, how do you feel when you hear about these rules from this inner critic? What are your thoughts on them? How do you want to react to these rules? Just listen and notice. Do these rules, or these criticisms, these judgments, expectations, demands, whatever they may be, do they make you feel safe? Do they scare you? Do they stress you out? Are there any rules that you wish you didn't have to follow that are there? Or do you feel guilty, shameful, if each of those rules are not meticulously followed without question? What do you wish the adult version of yourself here today did more or less of? Anything in particular? More of one thing and less of other things? The next question is, how do you feel about the inner critic? If you've given them a name, you can name them specifically. How do you feel as the inner child about the critic, this rule maker as a whole? How do they make you feel, their presence, their intention for being there as an internal voice? Our last question is, as the inner child, what would make you feel less judged and more supported right now, if anything? When you feel ready, we can once again, through 3 deep breaths, return back to our original full perspective as the adult version of ourselves. Inhaling. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Returning back to yourself fully in this moment. Ask yourself, what did you notice about the critic that you may have not known before? Which one of those 2 energies feels the loudest to you in your life right now? What might it be like to have a more kind and supportive inner voice in the background of your mind all day that encourages growth and responsibility, but without any of that harsh judgment, without any of this punishment, internal punishment that can sometimes accompany an inner critic's well-intentioned purpose for being there. Can you see how this inner voice genuinely believes that by being there, it is helping you, trying to protect you? It has a very important reason for being there. Can you maybe, and it's totally okay if the answer to this question is a flat-out absolute no, but maybe there's a capacity with this new awareness to thank the inner critic for trying in its best way, the only way it knew how, to protect you from experiencing something unwanted. Maybe some expectations that the inner critic had for you, you found to be incredibly unrealistic and impossible to attain or achieve, actually. And those can be let go. Even if nothing really changed today other than the fact that we became a little bit more aware of what this voice sounds like, how it speaks, how it talks, what it believes, that itself is enough. And that is valuable. We will close this practice off with another round of 3 big deep breaths. Inhaling. And exhaling. Maybe shaking the body, shaking the palms, hands, any energy that might be stored within the body here. Let it all go. Wiggle it out. Inhale. Can move around. Let your body move in any way it needs to. Inhale. And exhale. And if your eyes are closed still, gently begin to open them. Return back to this moment here with me, maybe looking around again. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself time to integrate. Thank you so very much for doing this practice with me. It was a pleasure to guide and to be here with you. I hope you enjoyed this. I would love to hear any insight that you might have had during this entire process. And yeah, thank you very much.